Hey guys, and welcome back. We're going to talk today about blood sugar regulation. This is the next important pillar. Digestion and blood sugar regulation really go hand in hand because they have so many downstream effects and they really work in tandem with each other. There's rarely a case in our body where one process is just completely separate of anything else. Everything works like a beautiful orchestra in our body. And so when there are a few instruments that aren't tuned right or things are off, you can really tell. It just throws the whole orchestra off. What is blood sugar balance? We're going to talk about how much sugar is in your blood at any given time. And that can include when you're fasting, can include right after you eat, at any point during the day. It is subject to change. It is obviously fluid, and what your body does is it really likes to keep it in a tight range of anywhere from, on the lower end, 80 to 120 milligrams per deciliter. Right after you eat, it's normal to spike up to, say, 200 milligrams per deciliter. But what we want is for that to come back down. We really don't want huge spikes and huge crashes because it feeds inflammation. And especially if we keep doing that over time, we are going to certainly encourage inflammation, arterial sclerosis. We're going to encourage cardiovascular disease. We're going to be laying the groundwork for diabetes to develop. We really don't want to do that. It can actually start forming problems in our brain. In fact, Alzheimer's is considered type 3 diabetes at this point because of all the research that has been done to show that ketogenic diets, low to no carb, no sugar diets have really helped early onset Alzheimer patients. What we're seeing is that the immense amount of sugar that is in our diet on a daily basis, and I'm not just talking about candy or chocolates or things like that. That stuff is bad enough if you're having it every day. But the high amounts of carbohydrates that have little to no nutritional value in them, it's very difficult to encourage good health when that is a huge part of your diet. I'm not saying you can never have these things again. I'm just saying think about what nourishes your body and go for those things that come from the earth, like sweet potatoes, things that are grown in the garden, like green leafy vegetables. All of these things we've been eating for millennia, and our bodies were designed to thrive off of these things. I understand if eating a salad to you sounds like a death wish. I get it. Just give yourself some time to start introducing these foods maybe once a week into your diet. Little by little, the better you eat, the more you'll start to actually crave the good stuff. I do have to say that in our defense, our standard American diet, or the SAD diet as we like to call it, has really shaped our palates to be actually addicted to these garbage foods where they are filled with preservatives and they're also filled with chemicals that act on the brain the same way that heroin does or cocaine. It drives us to go back to it, even though we don't even want it. I mean, have you ever sat like I have and crushed an entire bag of white cheddar popcorn? I have. You feel like garbage while you're doing it, and then you're like, I just can't stop. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's because of the chemicals in that food. So I understand. I totally get how hard it is to put these foods down. Give yourself plenty of grace, but also understand what it's doing to your body. That was one of the biggest shifts for me when I started understanding what these foods were doing to my body and how I was on a path that was of no return. It really kind of pissed me off, and it made me want to just eat the things that I knew I liked and find foods that I enjoyed. The more I started doing that, the more I started craving really good foods. So, hyperglycemia is when you have a high amount of sugar in your blood. So, what's going to happen inside your body is that when you eat, we talked about digestion, your food is supposed to be highly acidic. It's going to slowly dump into your small intestine. Now, what happens there? That amazing pancreas and liver and gallbladder are all going to work in tandem to neutralize and break down that chyme. If you're eating high sugar, high fat, fried foods, things like that, and I'm not talking good fat, I'm talking crap fat. Like, say you just downed a whole McDonald's meal or fast food or fried chicken or things like that. And then you topped it off with some hot honey and you had yourself a milkshake with it. That's a lot of fake fats and a lot of sugars and carbohydrates. While you do have some protein in there, it's mostly carbs and fat. What's going to happen is your pancreas is going to start shooting out a ton of insulin, all this sugar. It's going into the bloodstream. So the pancreas is like, hey, we've got a ton of sugar coming into the blood right now. So it's sending out all sorts of signals to your liver, to your skeletal muscles, to your fat, saying, we need more space for all this sugar. We're going to put this sugar away for later use for when we need energy. Well, then all of a sudden, you'll crash and you'll feel super tired. So then the pancreas has to say, okay, I'm releasing glucagon now. We've got to unlock some of this sugar. And then you've got all this sugar coming back into the blood. Your body is meant to regulate this and keep it under control. But if you keep eating like that on a consistent basis and you're really not giving your body the nutrients it needs, all of the wonderful minerals, chromium, magnesium, manganese, vanadium, these amazing minerals are needed for proper blood sugar balance, especially during stress. That can also hinder the process. If you've got high cortisol running through your body, it's going to affect the insulin uptake. It's going to actually lead to insulin resistance. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, and that will significantly impact blood sugar balance. When cortisol is released, that will also act on the liver to produce and release glucose from its cells for immediate energy for the body. While this is helpful in short bursts, say when you are confronted by a threat, that immediate energy, that immediate adrenaline that your body needs to fight or flight, that will be helpful in short bursts. But if you think about how cortisol is released, and if that's happening over and over and over again every day, i.e., stress, chronically elevated cortisol causes insulin resistance over time. That will also trap excess sugar in the bloodstream. You're going to have higher and higher amounts of sugar coming into your blood, promoting long-term metabolic issues. That is a huge piece here that I always like to talk about. That's why I got into this, is I didn't realize that living in a chronically stressed state was slowly killing my health. I just figured, yeah, stress is stress, and that's off to the side. But I didn't know how to regulate my blood sugar. I didn't know how to eat for my body. I didn't know what kind of specialized nutrients I needed. So as digestion is going on, pancreas is releasing insulin, your blood sugar goes away into the cells. Then when you need energy again, the pancreas releases glucagon, and that tells your liver, muscle cells, hey, we need some more of that glucose that I stored away for energy now. So it's supposed to be a simple process. And as the blood sugar reaches optimal levels, the pancreas backs off. The problem is that when we are chronically spiking our blood sugar, it's okay that it goes up. We want it to gently come back down. We also want it to gently rise as well. We have some tips and tricks to help you better regulate your blood sugar. If you are pre-diabetic, you have metabolic syndrome, already been diagnosed diabetic, to a point, you can reverse that. Okay, to a point. What you want to do is try very hard today, catch it early. And even if you're at the point, start today. Start today with something easy that you can do. Think about the low-hanging fruit. If you're eating things like a Dove chocolate after each meal, candy is a low-hanging fruit that we can just get rid of. That's extra sugar we just don't need. We're already getting a ton of sugar in the carbs we're having, in the fruit juices we might be drinking. Maybe you're having flavored creams in your coffee that has a lot of added sugar. Start looking at the labels of everything you're eating so that you can see just how much sugar you are ingesting on a daily basis. Keeping a food and mood journal is also an extremely powerful tool that I like to use to really bring to our attention, what am I eating and how did I feel after I ate that? Many times we'll find that, wow, after I had a piece of cake or after I had something that had high sugar in it, I was extremely lethargic. And I didn't realize it was right after I ate that cake. Sometimes it can take up to 2 or 3 days for people to notice how terrible they feel after they have things with sugar. So these are all things that we can just bring to our attention so that it gives us more data as to what our body is actually asking for. What else can we do? We can also have apple cider vinegar. I love apple cider vinegar as a tool to help regulate blood sugar. Have a tablespoon in an 8-ounce glass of water, either before, during, or after you eat your meal. That's going to help reacidify the stomach, first of all, so that will aid in digestion, but it's also going to help regulate and slow down your blood sugar intake. I'm not saying if you're about to have a whole cake, just have some apple cider vinegar. Please understand. Hear me now and listen to me later. What I am saying is have that before you eat as a digestive help. And bonus, it will also help with blood sugar regulation. Now, you can burn the candle at both ends by nixing any carbs at your meal outside of fruits and vegetables. Best case scenario is when you get all your carbs from green leafy vegetables, high fiber ticket items like sweet potatoes, squash, zucchini, chia seeds, cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli. It doesn't have to be boring. You can use wonderful spices. The spice world is amazing to level up your foods. Make sure you season it generously. We want you to have tasty food, and that means plenty of sea salt. You want to find foods that you like. So try something. See how you like that. Pat yourself on the back for trying something new. Your body will thank you for it and move on to the next thing. When you find something you like, stick to it and keep branching out. Another way we can help with blood sugar regulation is the order in which we eat. People track it with their continuous glucose monitors or CGMs. They have noticed that their blood sugar stays a lot steadier when they eat food in a certain order. Start with your protein. You want to eat that first. You want to make protein the star of every meal and snack. If you're going to snack, don't reach for empty calories like popcorn, chips, or dried fruit, or even fruit, because that is going to spike your blood sugar pretty fair amount. Instead, reach for a protein like a stick of cheese or a clean meat stick, hard-boiled eggs, and nuts and seeds. That will be much better on blood sugar. And if you're going to have a carb, again, try and make your carb come from vegetables because you'll have a lot of great fiber in there as well. But any kind of carb you're going to have it at the very end. You want to have a healthy protein plus a healthy fat. You get fat and protein in things like salmon, fish, eggs, nuts, and seeds. And that's going to really slow down the rate at which sugar is going to come into your blood. If you're going to have anything sweet, having dessert at the end of the meal is not just old tradition. There's a good reason for that because we knew hundreds of years ago that it's not good to eat sweets on an empty stomach. And by the way, hundreds of years ago, we weren't eating the crazy amounts of sugar that we eat now. The goal of when your blood sugar rises is for your body to get it down. If you're used to having high sugar and you're sedentary, you're not expending any of that glucose stored in your liver or your muscles or your fat, it's just going to keep climbing and keep storing. And your pancreas is going to get burned out because it's constantly putting out insulin. It gets to the point where all of your cells are like, you know what, insulin? I'm done. Okay. I'm sick of you being in my face. I'm not letting in any more sugar into this cell. You're not my boss. Your body starts to compensate the way it always does. When insulin resistance occurs, you're going to notice things like chronic fatigue, skin changes like skin tags. You're going to notice darkening areas underneath the armpits in all the creases of the body. You're going to notice weight gain big time. It's going to start storing it in fat primarily because the liver's chock full. Your skeletal muscles are chock full. None of these are being utilized. So it's going to start storing it in fat. And insulin resistance really is driven by the fat tissue amount. The more fat we have, the more insulin resistant we are. So one of the greatest drivers of changing this is losing weight. And as I said, we can do this by small steps, literally some small steps. Think about getting movement after you eat. There's nothing faster to bring down blood sugar regulation than movement. So if you do, even if you do like some jumping jacks, say you do 10 to 15 jumping jacks, that is expending energy. That's huge, especially if you have a lot of weight. It may feel hard at first, but even if you start small like that, you've done your body a huge favor by expending that energy. So you really want to get moving, especially after each meal. Doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be a 10-minute walk around the block. It can be a walk to your mailbox and back. It can be pacing around your house 10 times. You want to also stop the boat from leaking. You want to stop this excess sugar coming into your body. Cut out refined sugar and refined carbohydrates. I know this is a tough one, but once you get over that initial ick factor, your body will start to crave the good stuff. It really will. As we talked about before, we want to find vegetables that make us happy. You don't want to force yourself to eat a salad if you hate iceberg lettuce. If you love spinach, start eating spinach. If you love iceberg lettuce, start with that. You want to really try to nutrient densify everything you're eating so that your body gets all of the nutrients that it needs in order to regulate that blood sugar. Here's a recap of the things we can do. We can move after every meal for 15 minutes. That is a great way to bring down your blood sugar and discourage insulin resistance. You can start having apple cider vinegar before, during, or after each meal. That will help also slow down that blood sugar spike. You can cut out sugar and refined carbs for the time being until you start losing weight. And once you start really losing weight, you will see that, oh, okay, this is actually really helping me. I have seen people transform over a period of 3 months. If you think about the decades it took to get to where we're at, when we are chronically fatigued, we've had decades of abuse to our bodies, poor eating and poor sleeping. 3 months. That's miraculous. Our bodies are absolutely miraculous. So know that there's plenty of hope out there. If you start doing the right things, your body will thank you. One more thing I do want to say is, I know I'm going to hear this in the comments, like, I have tried everything. I've been eating well. I've been doing all the right things, and I'm still not dropping any weight. For us women, that is a super common complaint, is that I have insulin resistance. I'm not eating any carbs. I don't have any sugar. Why is my sugar still so high? The answer could be cortisol. And this is another reason why I always go back to the stress part. If you are chronically stressed, you most likely are not sleeping well. And if you're sleeping well, you're most likely not sleeping enough. So what I would say is, let's focus on getting you the proper sleep, because you are not going to drop a pound if you are not sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night the way 90% of humans out there are designed to sleep. Let's optimize your sleep first so that your body can feel safe again. The cortisol can turn off and your cells will get the message that, okay, cortisol's not in my face anymore. We're safe now. I'm oversimplifying everything, obviously, but this is just a little snapshot into blood sugar regulation and why it's so important. Blood sugar regulation regulates our energy levels. It regulates our metabolism, our cellular energy. Too much sugar in our blood is going to cause oxidative stress. We're not going to get the energy. We're going to be completely lethargic. We're going to get weight gain. I don't care what big food has to say. Oh, there's no such thing as junk food. Yes, there is. In my book, yes, there is. When you're filling food with a bunch of crap that literally compels people to eat more of it, I call that junk food. When it has zero nutritional value in it, I call that junk food. Let's start eating real food and let's start nourishing our bodies with what they need. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. Please remember also that I am not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. Please do not start, discontinue medications unless told to do so by a qualified healthcare professional. I am simply here to empower you to be your own healthcare advocate and give your body the tools it needs in order for it to thrive and heal itself. I'll see you guys next time. We'll talk about hydration. Bye.